Omar Kelly, formerly of the Sun Sentinel, now writing on SI.com, posted an article on Twitter, and I went to it, and it's very insightful. Basically, in this article, Omar Kelly says, this is it. This season for the Miami Dolphins might be it. Maybe a 2-year window, but probably this season, the Dolphins have to show substantial improvement, including winning a playoff game, or Stephen Ross may dismantle the team. I tend to agree with that. The guy has put a sizable investment here, and a 9-8 season isn't going to get it done. Not going to happen. I know a lot of people have a lot of hope. They think that the Dolphins are set for a playoff run, and I believe as well. But I don't think there's any room for failure. This is going to be it. So let's take a look at the article. So Omar Kelly and I sometimes joust on Twitter. I don't always agree with what he says, and he obviously doesn't agree with a lot of stuff I say. But this article, boom, he hit it dead on. I mean, he hit it dead on. Here's what the title is. Omar Kelly, Dolphins window to win it all closes soon. I completely agree. The financial strain the Dolphins are placing on the franchise to pay for big-ticket talent eventually will force a reset. Yes, and I like his points here. Let's go down. I've highlighted a few paragraphs in this article. NFL teams typically work in windows of 3 to 4 years that often start with a scorched-earth rebuild. Maybe it's a new general manager who is the first domino to fall, a head coach, and a new quarterback. The Dolphins went scorched earth and have all three. All three. Chris Greer, new GM, came in 2019. As you know, Mike McDaniel came in last year, and Tua Tagovailoa has been here for a few years under a couple different coaches. But that was a scorched earth rebuild, as Omar says. New GM, new coach, new quarterback. Let's continue. Down here he says, but since 2019, when Greer took over and Miami hired Flores and traded away quarterback Ryan Tannehill, the Dolphins have been building an organization with a young nucleus, true, and the goal is to make the Dolphins a championship contender for years to come. I don't think anybody can disagree that was the goal. Miami might have changed coaches, but not the course. The course was the same, needed to find a way to get to the promised land, to get to the playoffs, get deep in the playoffs, and hopefully contend for a Super Bowl. That's why it's healthy to acknowledge that 2023, this season, is season 5 of this rebuild, which means it's payoff or pivot time. That's it. Time to put up or shut up. A lot of people may not like that, but that's true. I mean, we can't get into Stephen Ross's head, but it's been 5 years, and this thing has just not progressed the way it's supposed to progress. The way Miami has conducted business the past 2 off seasons, adding important but yet expensive pieces like Tyreek Hill, don't get me started, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, and Jalen Ramsey, a financial strain is on the horizon because it's going to be extremely expensive to keep this collection of players together past 2023. I don't think anybody who has any idea about fiscal responsibility and salary caps and everything else can debate that. This is the year before everything starts having to be readjusted. Miami already has $32 million over the projected salary cap for 2024. Now, we all know that the salary cap is this mystical unicorn that often can be restructured, but it's still the cap. And right now, the Dolphins are projected to be $32 million over that cap. And there are 29 impending free agents like Raekwon Davis, Robert Hunt, and Brandon Jones, who will be looking for their first big payday. 29 free agents next year. That's scary. The Dolphins are one of 8 teams over the projected salary cap for 2024. And of that group, only the Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers, New York Jets, and the Los Angeles Chargers can view themselves as teams realistically trying to get to the Super Bowl. Even though the Dolphins have roughly $12 million in cap space right now heading into training camp, every decision made with the team's finances, whether it's pursuing Pro Bowl tailback Dalvin Cook or signing a veteran linebacker or a defensive lineman, has a domino cascade effect that will fall in 2024 and beyond. That's why I've been against Dalvin Cook. When you got so many things to take care of and you only have so much money, why put it on Dalvin Cook when Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson should do just fine? If Tua is healthy and Tyreek's on the field, along with Waddle and some of the other players, go ahead and get some people for the offensive line. That's what you really need. Remember, 2024 may be a dismantling year, maybe a reset. Go all in right now. Go all in on Dalvin Cook. For what? But then again, that's just my feeling. So why start worrying about tomorrow's bills when you can live for today by focused or maximizing this season, this talent, and this roster? That's a question that Omar posed right now. So here's what he says about that. The window is now, this season, and if 2023 fails for whatever reason, whether Tua gets hurt, whether Tyreek gets suspended, for whatever reason, whether it's because of a quarterback injury, offensive line struggles, and offense or defensive regression, a full-fledged reset is inevitable because it's likely Ross will write big checks to push forward with an 8 or 9 win team. I don't think he'll write big checks with a 10-win team. He didn't put all this together to win 10 games. He didn't put all this together to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. This team has to prove that they're worth the investment. I know a lot of fans don't like that, but there is something called ROI, and I don't have to be paying all these players. Don't have to do it. I'm still going to get paid if I'm the owner. The television rights alone are going to make sure I make some money back. I don't have to extend all this extra money. Yeah, so Barry, we won't buy tickets if the team sucks. Okay, I was around when there was nobody in the stands. Anybody remember when fans just wore bags on their heads? Yeah, it was like that. I did some marketing work with the Dolphins back then to try and get people into the stands. But you know what? Even during those days, Stephen Ross still made money. Still made money. So let's continue. 5 years of one rebuild is enough to determine if the franchise is headed in the right direction. And if the people selecting and coaching the talent know what they're doing. So understand what Omar's saying right there. What he's saying is, you had 5 years. Chris Greer, you've been here since 2019. I understand, Mike McDaniel, you just got here last year. But it's almost like Big Fangio, who's not going to be gone, maybe a head coach in waiting. Maybe that was part of the plan and bring him in, because if they don't win this year, there are going to be big changes. Stephen Ross is not going to keep spending this kind of money. I know people will disagree, and I've seen some comments on Twitter when I saw this article. People just don't want to believe it, but it makes complete sense. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made in the upcoming 12 months. 29 free agents, and that doesn't even discuss what we're going to have to do about Tua. So let's continue with the article. Everyone associated with the Dolphins organization knows this, which is why we're witnessing a couple of impending free agents jockey for a new deal this offseason, pressing to get their slice of the pie before it's time for the franchise to sign Tua to some massive contract should he perform all year. That likely will eat up 20% of the salary cap based on deals like Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson. If Tua plays well, and if he balls out, he's going to get the Brinks truck backed up to his house. He's going to be looking at 200, 250. I mean, serious, a lot of money, which is, everybody knows there's only so much to go around. And if Tua is going to be pulling 250 million out of the back of the big Brinks truck, then I better get mine now before we get to that point. So that's another reason why 2023 is such a huge year for the Dolphins to perform. Let's continue. Miami can find a way to press forward for one more season by restructuring players and handing out longer deals that feature a substantial amount of signing bonus money. But it needs to be worth Ross's time, effort, and a financial commitment. You're going to go to this guy and you're going to ask him to cut some huge checks. And I think some people don't realize there's a return needed. If I write this much money in checks, how much am I going to get back? What's my return going to be? I just don't want to have a bunch of players on the roster. That's not my idea of success, just to have a great marquee of roster talent. They need to perform, and they need to perform big. Continuing, Ross always has been willing to spend the money, always, making the financial investment to keep the talent or to upgrade the facility. But at some point, he needs to draw a line in the sand. I would change that. I would change that sentence completely. I would say, but at some point, Ross is going to draw a line in the sand. Anything short of the franchise's first playoff win since 2000 ain't gonna cut it. I completely agree. Anything short of at least a playoff win, at least getting a playoff win since 2000 ain't gonna cut it. Heads are gonna roll. He closes the article by saying this season will dictate whether it's a solid one, something worth keeping together, or if this is a clunker that needs to be sent to be reset and sent to the junkyard. You have to understand that Stephen Ross, first and foremost, is a businessman. Stephen Ross makes some of the best real estate developments in South Florida and around the country. He understands how to analyze money, spreadsheets. He understands how to read performance. Right now, the Miami Dolphins performer is shit. 9-8 just doesn't cut it. Not with the kind of money you're laying out. Not going to happen. So this year, the Miami Dolphins need to have everything go right. Everything has to work. Everything has to click. Tua needs to stay healthy, needs to be on the field for 17 games. Tyreek needs to get his head out of his ass and be on the field and get his 2,000 yards. The offensive line, you got to play at this level. You got to play up here, over your head. Doesn't look like there's any help coming, so you got to be ready. All you bit players and role players on the team, you got to be ready to step in at a moment's notice and take this team to the next level. This is it. Ross is all in. I think the players are all in. I hope the fans are all in. But let me know what you think about this season being the pivotal season of do or die. I'd love to know what you think. As always, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, but I got to believe with Omar that this is it. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. Fins up. I'm all in.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?